Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Aradhya Bhagavan
Brajesh Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Vakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Kumarto Maha Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatra Dharana Paraha Anarpita Charinchirat Sarvayavatirna Kalau Samarpayitum Unnatojvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyan Hari Purata Sundara Dyuti Kadamba Sandipita Sada Hridaya Kandare Spurato Vasachi Nandana Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Gunadham Mangala Charitra Sada Mangala Jarana.
Hare Krishna. We welcome everyone. We welcome all of our YouTube Live listeners, our listeners over Facebook Live, and we welcome all of our dear listeners over Zoom. Welcome to all of you to this day 57 of Sri Gauramrita. So before we move forward, we would like to announce and congratulate the participant of yesterday's quiz. We have Hari Prasad Prabhu. Congratulations, Prabhu, and we thank you very much, Prabhu, for participating in the quiz from yesterday. And we request everyone to kindly participate in the quiz. That way, we will also have more interaction. And if you are not able to give your comments in the form of answers in the YouTube, you can also always send your answers to any of the admins. So please make sure that if you want to send it over WhatsApp, you could also send it to any of the admins, the answers to your quiz. We'll be eagerly looking forward to your enthusiastic participation.
Today in session 57, we'll continue to describe the transcendental treasure trove of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotional pastimes, how Sri Vishwambhar pacifies his beloved wife Vishnupriya. We'll also sing Sri Brahmara Gita in the song of separation that was sung by none other than Shrimati Ragharani in separation from Krishna when she was trying to understand the divine mood of separation of Sri Gaura Hari. So now, later, we will actually conclude this session by describing the Falastuti, the benefits that we receive by listening to these transcendental pastimes of Sri Gaura Hari. So let's start this narration and all of us hear attentively, because Srila Lochan Das Thakur, in his Sri Chaitanya Mangala, he speaks about this heartbreaking pastime of Shrimati Vishnupriya Devi finding out about Sri Gaura Hari leaving home. Yesterday, in session 56, we heard how Lord Vishwambhar pacified Sachimata. Today, Let's continue.
So when Vishnupriya Devi, actually when Vishwambhar was actually pacifying Shachi Mata, and Shachi Mata was incessantly crying. She was not able to stop her tears. Vishnupriya Devi, she was standing in the corner of the door of that room, and she was completely overwhelmed with grief, and she just fainted upon just imagining and becoming aware of the imminent disaster. She just fainted on the spot. However, Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu, after he took his evening prasad, he went to take rest in his bedroom, in his bedchamber. And Vishnupriya Devi, she rushed to the Lord and sat by his lotus feet. Her lotus face was very saddened, and she sighed heavily as she looked at the moon-like face of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And Vishnupriya Devi, she just wrapped her creeper-like arms around the lotus feet of Lord Gauranga. She just clasped the lotus feet of Lord Gaura Hari into her heart, and tears were just streaming from her eyes, and it was falling upon the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Now, when the tears, the loving tears of Sri Vishnupriya Devi touched the lotus feet of Sri Gaura Hari, Gaura Rai immediately woke up. Sitting up on his bed, the Lord said, "My dear Vishnupriya, why are you crying? You are very, very dear to me. Why are you crying? I am not able to understand. Why are you crying so helplessly?" So then Vishnupriya Devi, she just could not respond. She was just, keeping her head down, and she was just holding on to the lotus feet of Sri Gaura Hari, and she was just crying. Then the Lord, he just couldn't tolerate the way Vishnupriya Devi was crying. So the Lord actually just took his own cloth, his own chadar, and he dried the tears from Vishnupriya Devi's face. And again he asked her, "Why are you crying, my dear wife?" And in a half-choked voice, she was crying so badly. She said, "Oh Lord of my life, oh Lord of my heart, please place your lotus hands upon my head. I have heard that you are taking sannyas. This news is crushing my heart. I feel like entering the fire. My life, my wealth, my dresses, ornaments, glances, everything, all my gestures, my very life is just meant only for you. And if you leave me, what value is my life? My heart is burning in the fire of poison. Let my life go to waste, but I know that you are going to be traveling now to distant countries. Your feet, your lotus feet are softer than the lotus flowers. That your lotus feet is so soft that even I feel so scared to touch your lotus feet, because I fear that I may give you some pain by touching your lotus feet. So soft is your lotus feet. Ranga Charan. Ranga means reddish. Charan, lotus feet. So Vishnupriya Devi said, "Your reddish lotus feet, how will you travel with all this thorn-filled forest?"
Then she continues, "Your moon-like face is like a pool of nectar, and with very slight endeavor also, these, if you work a little hard, pearl-like drops of perspiration appear on your lotus face. And during monsoon season, it will be raining. Sometimes there'll be scorching sunshine. It'll dry up everything. And sannyasi has to endure all of this life full of suffering. My dear Lord, I know nothing other than your lotus feet. Under whose shelter are you leaving me? How can you leave Sachi Mata? Forget about me. What will you accomplish? What will you accomplish by leaving your dear devotees like Advaita, Shrivas, Thakur, Murari Gupta, Mukunda, and all the others? How can you just like leave them and take sannyas? You are the personification of love. You love everyone in the world. But the way you are acting now seems very contradictory. Because when you travel far away to distant countries, all of your devotees will die in separation. Is this your compassion? Is it because of me that you are leaving all of us? I'm so worthless that I'm keeping you bound in the material existence so much that you're taking sannyas because of me. If it's because of me, then please let me take just one last loving glance at you and let me drink poison. That is much better than me living and going through the suffering of seeing you leave. My Lord, please don't go to distant countries. Here, Vishnupriya was not thinking so much about herself. If you see, all her lamentations are about others or about Lord Chaitanya and other devotees. That is the quality of a Vaishnava. And then Vishnupriya just felt silent. She could not express the deep pain that's there within the core of the heart. She just clutched onto Lord Gauranga's lotus feet and kept crying. And then the Supreme Lord Gauranga, gently smiling, he picked up Vishnupriya and sat her on his lap. And to alleviate her distress, the Lord started speaking in a joking way. Gauranga Mahaprabhu said, "Who told you that I'll go away and take sannyas? I will always tell you about my plans. So don't be overwhelmed, don't lament without a cause." And Vishnupriya got confused, but she still felt a burning pain. And then she said, "My dear Prabhu, please, please don't tell a lie in the fear of hurting me. I know you are joking just to make me happy, but it's all a lie. I know without my knowledge, you'll just run away suddenly. What can I do? You are your own controller. Nobody else controls you. Please do whatever you like and take sannyas if you want, but please tell me definitely. Just now you said you will not take sannyas. Are you going to take sannyas?" So Gauranga Mahaprabhu sweetly smiled and said, "Listen, listen, oh dear one. Please listen very carefully, because I'm speaking for your benefit. Everything that you see in this creation is temporary, is always changing. The only everlasting truth is the Supreme Lord and the Vaishnavas. Everything else other than that is actually an illusion. This is how we should have the consciousness when we sit for chanting. I mean, it's true for all the time, but especially during chanting, we should just think, this is me and the holy names. There is nothing else. None of my problems exist. None of my so-called happiness exists. None of my relationships exist. The only relationship, which is the truth, is between the soul and the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the holy name and Harinam Prabhu. That is the consciousness and Krishna, Lord Chaitanya is saying here. The only everlasting truth is the Vaishnavas and the Supreme Lord. Everything else is temporary. Sons, husbands, mother, father, man, woman, everything is false, temporary designations. Who belongs to whom ultimately? Except the lotus feet of Krishna, no one else can be called our near and dear one. Whatever you see in this world is the impermanent external energy of the Lord, because Krishna is the soul of all living entities, whether they are men or women. He's the supreme enjoyer. He's the actual husband. Everyone else is Prakriti. Krishna is Purusha, the enjoyable energy. Nobody understands this. The living being is born by the union of semen and ovum, and he is born in total ignorance. So after going through boyhood and youth, he suffers many miseries, then in old age, and then he becomes so attached to his body, to his home, and in the old time, he spends his day lamenting to himself in the late life crisis, thinking, I spent my whole life just working so hard to maintain and protect my wife and family. And now the same wife and family are criticizing me, rejecting me in my old age. In the end, I feel cheated and I so feel angry by those whom I loved.
And can we imagine Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu is speaking all of this? This is written by Sri Srila Lotan Das Thakur in his Chaitanya Mangala. That this is exactly what Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu was trying to make Vishnupriya Devi understand. And through Vishnupriya Devi, he's trying to give all of us this kind of lesson. That what is the temporary nature of this world, and any relationship which does not have Krishna in the center is useless. It is temporary. It is meaningless. This is what Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu is trying to tell all of us through his dearly beloved wife, Vishnupriya Devi.
Gauranga Mahaprabhu then continued, even though the living being in his old age is lamenting, he's practically deaf, he's blind, he's morose, and still he will refuse to worship Govinda. Look at the plight of the living entity. Instead of serving Krishna, he accepts another material body, remaining trapped in this material existence, and then infatuated by false ego, he forgets his real master, Krishna, and therefore suffers severely. My dear beloved, your name is Vishnupriya, one who's dear to Vishnu. Make yourself worthy of your name, please. One who is Krishna conscious does not lament uselessly for nothing. Just remove all these misgivings from your mind, absorb yourself in Krishna consciousness, and don't lament. Everything that happens is for the better. One time, Srila Prabhupada tells the story of a Chinese farmer. He actually got a horse, and his horse was very stout, and everyone was praising him. Wow, such a wonderful horse! You're so lucky. And so the Chinese farmer said, well, good or bad, who knows? It's all for the better. And then after a few days, that beautiful horse ran away into the forest. And then everyone, all the villagers came to him and said, oh, your beautiful horse went away. What will you do now? He said, well, good or bad, who knows? Everything is for the better. And then after some time, after a few days, the horse returned with few more horses from the forest. And now this farmer had several horses. And everyone came and started praising him. Wow, now you have so many beautiful, strong horses. He says, good or bad, who knows? It's all for the better. And then his son, the farmer's son, was riding the horse. And he fell from the horse, broke his leg. And all the villagers came and said, my dear farmer, look, your son, his leg is broken. What will you do now? He says, good or bad, it's all for the better. Then, after a few days, the soldiers of the king came and they wanted to draft everyone into the military, all young men into the military. And they drafted every young man from the village except the farmer's son, because his leg was broken. So everyone said, oh, you are so lucky, your son was saved. And he said, good or bad, it's all for the better. So in a devotee's life, when we when we face whatever circumstances. A devotee externally, we may fight, we may work according to the circumstances, but internally, we are very peaceful. Devotees are very peaceful, thinking if this is Krishna is taking care of me because I am associating with his devotees. And if this is what Krishna is sending, this is what I need to make spiritual advancement. So whether it's a good thing or a materially a bad thing or whatever situation, adversity or good thing, he remains equipoised. I don't, if it's good, he says, I don't deserve it. Thank you, Krishna. I'm so grateful. And if he gets some adversity, he's still grateful. Thank you, Krishna. I deserve much worse. But you are giving just a token punishment so I can come out of my complacency and focus on Krishna consciousness. If we can focus on the ultimate goal, then all of the obstacles become stepping stone. The obstacles become obstacles only when we lose our sight from the goal. And the goal is to revive our loving relationship with Krishna. And all of the things, adversities that happen in our life, fame, infamy, so many things, is all just stepping stones towards the ultimate success of loving Krishna. So in this way, Gauranga Mahaprabhu consoled Vishnupriya, removing all her miseries and lamentation.
So we must understand that when miseries come our way, when difficulties come our way, that they may not be good in themselves, but they are happening for our good. They are happening for our good. Miseries may not be good. Definitely, miseries
Spiritual
are never good. But they are happening for our good. That is the faith that a devotee has. When a devotee tries to see that, yes, this is what Krishna is doing, he recognizes Krishna's hand in everything, then such a devotee is always very, 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 very satisfied.
There was a wonderful saying that I heard. If we leave everything in Krishna's hands, we can see Krishna's hand in everything.
Hariva.
So if we just depend on Krishna, leave everything, that Krishna will, whatever he's doing, I have faith and I'm grateful to Krishna, then Krishna will reciprocate with that faith, will reciprocate with that gratitude. And adversities can become our greatest success.
Greatest opportunities to surrender to Krishna.
Yeah.
So in this way, Gauranga Mahaprabhu tried in many ways to console his beloved wife, Vishnupriya Devi, but she was still very much lamenting. And suddenly, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu manifested his four-armed form of Lord Vishnu in front of Vishnupriya Devi. He showed his four-armed form as Lord Narayan to Vishnupriya Devi, but Vishnupriya Devi, she said, no, go away, go away. I do not want to see this four-armed form of yours, because my Lord and Master is only this beautiful two-handed golden form of Sri Gaura Sundara. So then Mahaprabhu took away the four-handed form and again appeared in front of her in his beautiful two-handed form of Sri Gaura Sundar. And Vishnupriya Devi, she fell down at Lord Gauranga's lotus feet and said that, please, my dear Prabhu, please, please hear my request. I know that I have taken a worthless birth in this miserable, world of birth and death. It's a worthless life that I have come into. Nevertheless, I am blessed because you are my husband. You are the Lord of my life, and I'm so fortunate to be your maidservant, my Lord. Then why? Why am I suffering such difficulty? So speaking like this, out of her love for Lord Vishwambhar, she just spoke in this way, and she just said like this, and she started crying very helplessly and feeling so sorry to see the distress of Vishnupriya Devi. Gauranga Mahaprabhu also cried. He also cried and reciprocated with her love, because such love, no words can actually satisfy or say anything that can be satisfactory. No reason to such love. It is unconditional. It is beyond any kind of reasoning. So just to reciprocate with the love of Vishnupriya Devi, even Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu started shedding tears of love. Just like when Shrimati Ragharani would cry, Krishna would not be able to control himself. He would also cry. Similarly, here also we see that when Vishnupriya Devi was crying so incessantly, even Gauranga Mahaprabhu started crying. And the Lord made Vishnupriya Devi sit on his lap, just like Lakshmi Narasingha, just like how Lakshmi Devi is sitting on the lap of Lord Narasingha Dev. Vishnupriya Devi sat on the lap of Sri Gaura Hari, and he was just trying to comfort her. And he said to Vishnupriya Devi that, listen, my dear Vishnupriya, no matter where I go, no matter whichever farther country I go, I will be right here with you. If you simply think of me within yourself, within your heart, just think of me. I will be right here to give you shelter. And I promise this to you. This is my solemn promise to you, that as soon as you think of me, I will be there with you. So this comforted Vishnupriya Devi. And she thought to herself for a moment, and then she said, Prabhu, you are the completely independent Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are Abhigya, you are Swarat, you know everything. You are the Supreme Independent Lord. And according to your sweet will, you can do whatever you want. Who can stop your actions? So then, seeing her crying, continuing to cry, Sri Vishwambhar just wiped her tears. He was also crying, and out of compassion, he spoke very affectionate words to her and said that he will constantly, he promised Vishnupriya Devi that he will constantly be in her heart. And he promised her one more thing. He said that you are the only one who will always feel my presence. You, my dear Vishnupriya Devi, you will always feel my presence. This is my promise to you. Although I may be physically separated from you, but you will feel my presence.
Haribol. So we'll hear the Falastuti. It says, simply by hearing this particular pastime of Lord Vishwambhara consoling Shrimati Vishnupriya and Lord Gauranga's desire to take sannyas, one can break free from the bonds of material attachments.
And also the promise that Vishnupriya Devi was given, that if she is constantly thinking of Lord Gaura Hari, then he will always be able to be with her. She will always feel his presence. So anyone who listens to this pastime with that faith, the Lord gives us also the same promise, that he will always be with us, and we will be able to feel his presence if we are able to constantly think about the Lord all the time.
And anyone who faithfully hears this pastime will receive the loving compassion and mercy of Lord Gaura Hari. And one who not only listens, but derives joy from hearing these narrations will see the beautiful face of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly. In fact, it's said Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are being performed even now, and whoever is blessed by the Lord to see, he or she can see, others cannot see. Adyapi halila kare Shri Gaurarai kono kono bhagavan dekhi pare pai ekhane rohilo grantha amrita lahari badan bhore ekbar bolo hari 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 hari.
So today's session, it is a little difficult for us mundane creatures to comprehend. Because, for us to even imagine that how the Supreme Lord can trouble his devotees in this way, how could he leave his young wife and his old mother and accept sannyas? This can be actually, we can try to comprehend it a little bit by, thinking that there is a very beautiful conversation that happened between Sri Gaura Sundara himself and Srila Lokanath Goswami. It is said in the Sri Prema Vilas, in verses 126 through 134, Lord Caitanya is describing to Lokanath Goswami, Amaro lagia Radha Adi Shokhigon বিরহে ব্যাকুল হইও তেজিলা জীবন আমি হতে জীব প্রাণ তাহার লাগিয়া সে দাসা হইবে তুমি শুনিবে থাকিয়া.
Feeling separation from me, Radha and the gopis have given up their lives. Now I shall also give up my life for her. You will see me in that condition, O Lokanath. ধরিব তাহার কান্তি হরিব অরুণ বসনা হইব তাহার দাস আনন্দিত মন. Adopting Sri Radha's complexion and the saffron-colored cloth of separation, I will become her maidservant and get happiness. এই লাগিয়া অরুণ বসনা দিবদয়া জপিবা Tahara guna kahilu tomaya. Wearing the saffron-colored dress of separation on my body, I will sing the glorious qualities of Shrimati Ragharani.
So just to reciprocate with the love of Shrimati Ragharani, Sri Krishna in the form of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas. Because it is said that when he went to Mathura from Vrindavan with Akrura, Sri Radhe, she gave up all of her opulent dresses, she gave up wearing all kinds of jewelry, and she wore only saffron cloth, which signifies the mood, which represents the mood of separation. And Krishna knew this. He was sitting in Mathura, but he knew what Sri Radhe is doing in Vrindavan, that she has given up all of this. But Krishna at that time, he could not reciprocate because Krishna had to wear his princely attire. He was the prince of Mathura. He was wearing Rajakiya Vastra. He was wearing the princely attire, and he was feeling so guilty. He was feeling so bad that my beloved Sri Radhe is wearing the cloth of separation, and here I am wearing kingly attire. How can I do this? And at that time, he made a solemn promise to Srimati Radharani in his heart. And he said that one day, Sri Radhe, one day, I will reciprocate with this act of yours. That for me, you have given up your, kingly attire, your queenly, your princess attire. You have given up all of this for me. I will also give it up for you, Sri Radhe, one day. So many, many years later, in fact, a yuga later, Krishna kept his promise. And in the form of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he accepted sannyas.
So then, concluding this Adi Leela is concluded of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he actually talks about the beautiful mood of separation that Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu was experiencing. Lord Gauranga was absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, and just as Sri Radhe is absorbed in Krishna's thoughts, and how Srimati Radharani spoke to a bumblebee when Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan by Krishna with a message for her. And Sri Radhe, in her deep love for Krishna, she sang a beautiful song that's called Brahmara Gita, the song of the bee, in loving separation from Krishna. So in this mood, we will sing Brahmara Gita today, begging for the blessings of Shrimati Radharani and Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu.
So this Sri Bhramar Gita, we are so fortunate that these are 10 verses that are spoken by Srimati Radharani herself. And this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 47, from text 12 to text 21. So the Brahmar Gita has been shared in the chat. Thank you, Prem Vikas Prabhu, for sharing this. So we will sing this beautiful Gopi song of the Gopi, which is Srimati Radharani, which is called as the Brahmar Gita, the song of the bee.
Gopi Uvacha Madhupakita Vabandho Masprisha Vipsapatya Kucha Vilolita Vala Kumkumashvashrutina Vahadu Badhuvani Sanilena Prashadam Yadushadasi Vedam Yasya Nusastvamiti Sakridadana Shrutam Swaha Mohini Parayitva Shrimana Saiva Sadhya Tanya Jismadhavani Paricharati Kantata Padavadmanupama Yupipata Chita Cheta Yatamashoka Jai Kimiha Sharadam Gayasi Tvamyadusa Adhipate Madhihaya Agratona Puraya Vijaya Sakhi Sakhi Gyatam Tatra Sangha Kshapita Kucharujaste Kalmayam Ishtamishta Divi Bhuvi Charasaya Kastiyastadurata Kapataruchirahasa Gurumechan Vasyayani Charandajajapaste Yasya Bhutivayanga Anichakri Paravachi Uttamashloka Visrija Shirasipata Vidyaham Chaturkare Anudaya Vidushaste Amitya Bhakti-Nanda Swakrita Vishwishta Patya Patya Nyaloka Yasmi Jadakrita Chena Kim Yotam Vayavasya Brigayoni Vakabhinam Vidyate Doktanaka Sriyavatita Vidu Sri Kamaya Bali 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 Matva Vishaya Bhakshavayas Tadalamasi Takshaya Dushtya Chasakata Yadanucharitani Gardapiyushamindro Satrinagaravidho Dvandvatharma vinashya Sampadigriha kutumba Ninamotsrijadeva Bhavaihavarhamuna Vikshuchayam chanti Vayam netam nihajeva Vyaitam shradharmana Kulikarnavitaya Krishna Vavadanya Vishnupriya Sakrideva Nanathasvishajita Smadajapamati Anyatamavyavata Virasakamudara Vreyasakeshita Vinayativaruto Vanayosiveta Nayasikata vihasta Dushtya jagantapashvam Satatamura sikshanya Shri Vatu Jatamaste Abhivatamadhukoya Ayaputrohamasti Smarati Savitrike Sonyabandhum Shanava Kvachidapi Sakataya Kindariyapirike Bhujamadhuru Sugandha Murtyatachyadana Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Yadu sadasi yadu
Jai Shri Shri Brahmara Gita ki Jai. Shrimati Radhe ki Shri Gauranga Shri Vishnupriya ki Shri Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So before we open up the lines, let us just go through the questions, the quiz questions for today.
First, who is Lord Chaitanya a personification of?
Second, what is the quality of the Vaishnava that Vishnupriya displayed?
Third, what is the lesson Gauranga Mahaprabhu teaches us through Vishnupriya?
Fourth, what are the promises that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to Vishnupriya?
Fifth, what is the falastuti of listening to these transcendental pastimes?
Thank you so much, dearest Ranjani Gopika, for these wonderful quiz questions. Now we can open up the lines for any questions, comments, reflections, realizations. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji Prabhuji. Dandvat
Hare
Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much for the session today. And it is very tough to read the slogans, Prabhuji and Mataji, but you sang very nicely. We are also reading the slokas the way you're singing, right? That meter, you're using the meter and you're singing, right? It's very tough, very tough. But you elevated the song very beautifully. And the final touch also, the slowly you sang, right? We feel that we are in that mood, how Radharani was feeling the separation of that Krishna. It's awesome. Seriously, it is very, very good, Prabhuji and Mataji. And I like the most part is that the former story you told. So that I like very much about Prabhupada I told, right? That is very good. So which we need to learn. We should not lament for everything. That is also we learned from you both today's class. And you said like, so Krishna is a Purusha and the other things are Prakriti, right, Prabhuji? So I have one question in that. So what is the exact meaning of Prakriti? We need to consider this material universe, or it includes everything like universe, living beings, everything. So what is the exact meaning of a Prakriti?
A very nice question. Actually, Krishna explains this in Bhagavad Gita, that he says, Bhumirapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhi revacha ahankaramiti me bhinna prakriti ashtada. So he first explains about a prakriti called bhinna prakriti, which means separated energy.
Okay.
And then which talks about earth, water, fire, air, ether in this verse, and mind, intelligence, and false ego. This is separated energy, the material energy. Then he says there is a superior energy. The next verse, he talks about my superior nature. So there is a bhinna prakriti and something which is higher than that, which is the spiritual, which is the soul. So yeah, Prakriti refers to both. In nature, Prakriti is material nature as well as the living entities, because living entities also Prakriti, because they are, Prakriti means it's the receiver, the one who's enjoyed, the giver actually. And Purusha means one who's the enjoyer, but then there is a constant reciprocation between the Purusha and Prakriti. So both are Prakriti, but this material nature is the Bhinna Prakriti, separated energy, and the living entities are like the internal energy. And of course, there is also a Tathastha Shakti, which the living entities belong to. But what Prabhupada explains this meaning of bhinna prakriti, separated energy. He says that I'm speaking now, and this
Yeah.
what I'm speaking is being recorded. Sometime
Yes.
later, you will go and hear from a recording the same particular lecture.
Yes.
So at that time, are you listening to me? And the devotee said, yeah, we are listening to you. He said, but I'm not in the recorder.
Yeah.
What
Yes.
you have done is that you have separated my energy. You have separated my voice. You have separated my speech and then recorded it. And now you're playing that separated energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this material nature is like that separated energy of the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. Understood. Yeah. Clear, Prabhuji. And I have one more practical question not related to the session. A few things answered in our session itself. What happened in official life? I'm saying about sometimes I'm getting anger, Prabhuji, but I want to try to avoid that one. They're pulling my legs. Yesterday also something happened. I was slowly talking, but later point of time now they're irritating. I'm losing my temper. So how can I control that, Prabhuji? But I'm thinking, Trinatapi Sunishena, Tarorapi Sagisna, I'm keep on chanting that one also, but it is going beyond my limit. So what can I do? Please help me.
Yeah, well, that's a very practical question. You know, sometimes we are doing our work and people come and annoy us. And as devotees, we don't want to become angry. But at the
Yeah.
same time, we have to, you know, one time there was a uh, disciple of Narad Muni. Narad Muni has so many disciples. And one of his disciples was a snake. So Narad Muni actually was going and in a village, and everyone said there is a very poisonous snake there. So Narad Muni went in search of that snake. He found that snake, and then he initiated him. He gave him instructions and said, "You should not bite anyone." So uh, said, "Okay, I will do that." And Narad Muni left. Then after some years, when Narad Muni was going by, he said, "Let me go see how my disciple snake is doing." He went there and he saw that they were young boys and they were like with sticks, and there was a huge uproar, and there was laughing and things like that going on. And Narad Muni said, "What's happening?" And he saw that all these uh, boys were surrounding that snake and was hitting him with stick. And so Narad Muni ran and kind of, you know, saved his disciple and told the boys, "What are you doing? Why are you hitting with the stick?" So the snake said, "My dear Guru Maharaj, you told me not to bite. Since then, I've stopped biting, and these people are now taking advantage of me because they know I will not bite. And so now they are hitting me, they are poking me, and
There's blood oozing out
blood
of
was coming." And he was saying, "But I still followed your instruction. I did not bite." So Narad Muni said, "Well, it's very nice that you did not bite, but I didn't say, I said you should not bite, but I didn't say you cannot raise your hood. You can at least raise your hood so that they get, you know, you can save yourself.
Yeah.
You can protect
Yes.
yourself. You don't still have to bite." So similarly, you know, when we want to absorb ourselves in Krishna consciousness, even when we are doing our work, we want to think of
Yes.
Krishna while doing
Yes.
it. But people, they may annoy us and distract us
Yes.
from that meditation. But we should, at least to protect our devotion,
Yeah.
we should raise our hood. We should not bite them. We should not like get angry at them and, you
Yeah.
know, shout at them or whatever. But at least do something to protect ourselves and raise our
Sure.
hood
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So
That
that's one way we can do. Another thing is that we should make sure that anger comes when there is some kind of a hurt and a vengeance inside. So as soon
Yeah.
as we are feeling annoyed, we should immediately think, "I forgive you. I let you,
Okay.
I Krishna, please give me the strength to forgive this person.
Yeah.
And I pray for their spiritual advancement. And I'm being hurt because there is something within me which
Yeah.
needs to be purified. So I pray, Krishna,
Yes.
please purify that. And let me focus on that thing that needs to be purified." And if we forgive them, then Krishna will forgive us for so many other mistakes that we
Yeah.
have been doing.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And once we do that, once we work on ourselves and let that hurt go and forgive them, then you can raise your hood. Then you'll be able to raise your hood in a much more detached way, rather than otherwise, because people can understand the vibrations. So
Yes,
we
Prabhuji.
may raise the hood with vengeance, or we may raise the hood in a detached manner. And if we raise the hood with detached manner, they'll understand, they'll go away. If you raise the hood with vengeance, they might still come. It may infuriate them even more. So, so raise your hood, but before that, make sure you have done, like a little prayer to forgive them as much as possible.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. But I feel like association is most important. I feel now always, valuable association, Vaishnavas association. Then we will never do mistake. We are get the guidance from you, senior masters, right, spiritual masters. We will go in the right path. Thank you so much, Prabhuji and Mataji, for giving a wonderful answer. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for the wonderful questions. Garima, we love the way you have written your name, Gaurima. We love the way you've written your name. It's Gaurima.
Yeah, my Guru calls me Gaurima.
It's beautiful.
Yes, Mataji. I love the class. I always like it because my favorite is Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhagavatam, and I love the stories. I just love the stories. Thank you for the class.
Thank you, Vita. Thank you.
Mataji, I wanted to show you a picture.
Okay.
I drew in 1 hour.
Okay, let's see. Oh, wow. Radha Krishna. So beautiful.
Are they under a tree?
Yeah, they're under a tree with flowers.
Beautiful. Gaurima, thank you. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Mataji. I'll send you a picture.
Yes, Beta, please do. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Quickly, thank you, Hare Krishna.
We'll take Anjali and then we'll answer the question.
So we'll take Anjali, and then the question about marginal energy we will answer after that.
Yes,
Hare
Anjali.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
जय श्री राधे। मतलब बोलते हैं ना कि गुरुओं का साथ और भगवान की कृपा हो तो कुछ भी like today's story also just reflected that only. And just now Prabhuji also said that association of Vaishnavas are so important that they can really guide you. Yesterday I asked a question and I totally surrendered to Lord. And imagine what a miracle happened. I finished my 16 rounds by 6:15 a.m. today.
Haribol, that's wonderful.
Thank you is a very small word to tell you, to say. I think so it's only Lord's mercy and grace. And Srila Prabhupada, you said that he just wants that Hare Ram Krishna chanting. एक दिन का आपके क्लास ने देखो क्या जादू किया. Just keep on having session even once a week or twice a week. It is so important. And today's story was, I just don't know. It was really like, it was just for me. I was just feeling that. Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
And thank you for such a beautiful Bhava Geet. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Your Gopi Geet, Bhava Geet, it just takes you to Radha Krishna's pastime. They're so nectarian. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Dee. Love you. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So there is this question about marginal energy by Vinita.
Yes, Vinita.
Yes. So it says that there are three kinds of energy. There is the Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tathastha Shakti. The internal energy, Antaranga Shakti. Bahiranga Shakti is the external energy. And Tathastha Shakti, which is the marginal energy. And Bahiranga Shakti is the Bhinna Prakriti that we spoke about, material nature. Antaranga Shakti is the devotional energy. Shrimati Radharani and all of the devotees of the Lord. And Tathastha Shakti is the living entities who are either in the Bahiranga Shakti or in the Antaranga Shakti. So the Tathastha Shakti or the marginal energy does not have its own independent existence. They are either in the internal energy or they are in the external energy, either in Mahamaya or in Yogamaya. There is nothing in between. Just like the shore of an ocean is is either in water or on sand. It's not, there is nothing in between. If it's not in water, it's in sand. If it's not in sand, it's in water. That's the shore of the ocean. That's what the marginal energy is. We should not think that this marginal energy is a third space. No, it's either in the internal energy space or in the external energy space. That's why it's called marginal energy. Tatastha Shakti, like a tat, like a shore of the ocean.
And they can choose, the living entities who are marginal energies, they can actually choose where they want to go. Whether we want to be in Mahamaya, in the Bahiranga Shakti, in the external energy, or in the internal energy. So the Tatastha Shakti, the living entities, we have the free will that is awarded to us by Krishna, by which we can choose whether we want to be in Mahamaya or in Yogamaya. Srila Prabhupada explains that being in Maya is the constitutional position of every living entity other than Krishna. Everyone other than Krishna is under Maya, is under an illusion. Now we can choose to be in the illusion by being in Mahamaya. Now being in Mahamaya means we become forgetful of Krishna out of envy for Krishna. We forget Krishna and we try to think that we are the Lord of all we survey. That is being in Mahamaya, in the external energy. But when we choose to be in the internal energy, in Yogamaya, under the shelter of the Ladini Shakti of Shrimati Ragharani, then that is forgetting Krishna out of love for Krishna. Just like the Brajvasis, they have forgotten the supremacy of Krishna out of love for him. So they are also in Maya. The Brajbasis are also in Maya, but they are in Yogamaya. And all of us, we are under Mahamaya because we've forgotten Krishna out of envy. So like this, the marginal energy is described. And we hope this answers your question, Vinita Mataji. Please do let us know if you have any further questions. Anyone else? Any further questions? Thank you so much, Rasika, for your beautiful comment. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vinita Mataji. Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments, reflections, realizations?
If not, we will end here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
So